Current Kengan Mega versus current manga Baki characters. Where would they rank with one another on a power ranking tier list? I made this video a few years ago, and of course a lot of stuff has changed since then in both mangas. We got introduced to new characters in Kengan Mega, namely Shenwu Long, which pretty much changed everything on how strong we thought Kengan characters would actually get. Of course, we're currently in the Jack arc in the Baki manga, so of course he's on the rise alongside various other characters, so let's get into it. First up, the S tier of course. Without a doubt, we're going to have to place a few Baki characters in here, namely, our protagonist Baki Hanma of course. As expected, we have Yujiro Hanma in there as well. I don't think anyone's shocked by this. I would also place current Jack Hanma. I'm investing all my stocks into current Jack. He should be able to fight the likes of Baki currently and should be most likely on his level when we get to see their rematch. So that's just what I'm thinking is going to happen regarding the future of the story. So these three at the top. Pickle recently returned in the manga and is having hints that he's going to have a rematch with Jack as well, but I do believe Jack's going to demonstrate his superiority in that regard. We'd also need to place Masashi Miyamoto here, even though he's currently unalive, but still his impact he had on the story, definitely one of the strongest without a doubt. When it comes to the strongest Kengan character, Shenwu Long, that's probably the character most people in today's video are waiting for. I'll hold that off a little bit and place, I would say, all the Baki characters in first, then I'll get into the Kengan characters to see where they would actually place. So regarding the A tier characters regarding Baki, I'm going to place Hanayama in there. I'm going to place Kaku Kaio, I'm going to place Sukune in there, Katsumi as well, Doppo, place him in there, and Oliver as well. Oliver recently returned, got a rematch against Sukune, ended up winning that. Doppo destroyed the likes of Keiha, and I will place Goki in there as well. He's a character who's respected by everyone else in A tier and characters in S tier as well, namely Jack and Baki. And, as we know, defeated Doppo in the early days of Baki as well, so definitely worthy of this level. I'll place Oliver probably like here or so. It doesn't really matter the exact order. I would place all these characters on the same tier or similar tiers. I may place like Doppo and Goki down here, as I do believe Katsumi has surpassed them, but make it more simple, I'll place these guys at A tier. Then we have the pretty much lower tier Baki characters. Retsu, I want to place in here. Actually, I will place Retsu in here. As we know, he's currently dead in the manga, meaning all these characters who are currently alive are most likely surpassing him, but I will still place him in A tier. But B tier, I'll place Gaia in there. Ali Jr. is very outdated now. Gaia was called out by the likes of Jack, so we should be seeing their fight in the future. I don't think it's going to be too close, definitely in Jack's favor. And then we have one prisoner representing all of them. I do believe they're all relative and should be on the same tier. Of course, I have videos going over my personal ranking for the prisoners, but I think Dorian is the strongest, and I would regard him as the strongest in the group, and I would place him pretty much here, or maybe even down in C tier. I'll see what happens with that. But now let's go over the Kengan characters. So the strongest in Kengan, Shenwu Long. Where would I place him compared to the Baki standards? If you don't know, he's pretty much miles stronger than any other character in the Kengan verse currently, apart from the potential other connector that we don't know anything about. This was represented in his Gaia Mikaku fight, and how he scaled Gaia Mikaku personally to characters at the top of the worm, the ones just below him, such as Yarn, Gilbert, and the Tiger Nico. We already know the Tiger Nico is getting set up for a future fight with the likes of Ohma, and we know Ohma is relative to a lot of the main characters I'll talk about shortly, but Shen, without a doubt, is way above any other Kengan character. So for me personally, we haven't seen an insane amount, but considering someone like Waka is able to shake a mountain with his raw strength, and Shen with his skill alone, or you should say his principles, is way above anything Waka could do. He should be able to negate pretty much a strength difference, even though when it comes to physical strength, he is definitely a monster without a doubt. I want to place him at the end of A tier due to hype, and honestly who knows what he'll be able to do in the future. However, if other characters are going to get to Shen's level, which may not actually happen, but imagine they are, would that really be right? Gaia has done some pretty insane stuff in this series, especially in his fight against 13-year-old Baki, but it is kinda hard to rank him. I do think he is definitely above the likes of the prisoners. I want to place him in B tier, or maybe the top of A. Due to the hype and honestly the insanity he has caused within the Kengan Omega fandom, I'm going to place him at the end of A tier for today's video. But where does that put the other characters in the Kengan verse? Before I get into that, make sure to subscribe for more Kengan or Baki content. That's what I provide on the Mysterious Weeb YouTube channel. I guess it'll be a good time to go over the scaling regarding Ohma. So we know thanks to Lolong's profile that Lolong could defeat the likes of Ohma and Ryan, and they could defeat him, meaning they're pretty much relative to one another. Thanks to Kano currently fighting the likes of Jirota, we know Jirota could be the top of Purgatory, meaning just as strong as Lolong, and Ohma regarded Kano as the top of the Kengan Association. So once again, that's just making Kano relative to these three as well. Kuroki Gensai regarded Kano as an equal back in the Kengan Annihilation tournament. Then when he was watching Kano fight and defeat Lu Tien, he claimed that he doesn't know whether he can defeat Kano now. So once again, another character who's probably relative to this group as well. Maybe above them slightly, but we also had his match against the likes of Lolong, which was inconclusive as well. So him being on the same level as these four is most likely the case. Whether they're stronger than the Tiger Nico, we can't really say. I think they're very close currently, but I would say the Tiger Nico is above them. So the Tiger Nico I'm going to place in B tier. And I do have to note, there is quite a big gap between A and B tier. Like, characters in A tier should be able to stomp anyone in B tier without a doubt, especially considering how outdated Ali Jr. is, and Gaia hasn't really had a dub since the prison arc where he destroyed Sikorsky. Then the other top tiers in Kengan, I do think they're above the prisoners now. In my previous video, I put them pretty much on the same tier of the prisoners. Yes, Spec did some pretty wild stuff in cracking the Statue of Liberty, and Yanagi has pretty broken techniques, but due to the evolution of these characters, how much stronger they've gotten, and how the prisoners, of course we haven't seen them, so they haven't gotten stronger. If you watch my previous video, this will make more sense, so Kuroki I'll put above them as well, and then the pretty much other characters who are relative to one another within the series itself. Then the pretty much next tier or level of characters, do I think they can beat the prisoners? That's kinda a good question. I will say the pretty much stronger characters on this list, for example Gao Lang, Fei, Waka and Toa, I think they have the ability to beat the prisoners. Potentially, I think they're probably on the same level. Of course, Waka has that insane strength feat, and these characters above him with skill can pretty much overpower Waka, or overcome that strength difference with skill. So when it comes to raw power, Kengan is up there quite a bit due to the likes of Waka. We know Toa is equal to strength base to base with Julius, Waka likewise to Julius as well, at least back in Ashura. Then people like Akoya and Hayami I would place on the lower end. Of course, there's much more Kengan characters I could have included on this list. These are just the main ones, and it is good to point out that most of the Kengan verse are relative to one another, especially if they're in the same tier. Apart from, of course, Shen Wulong, he's just another beast on a different level. I do think as we learn more about him, he could potentially go higher. Like, I could be putting him above Retsu one day, but for now I cannot do it. Shen, based on feats and showings and even the narrative, shouldn't really be any trouble for the top of the Buckyverse. Yujiro, Baki, Masashi, Jack, Pickle, these type of characters should still be too much. Even characters like Hanayama I do think would be the winner, just due to the overall strength difference. But who knows, stuff could change. It is kind of just me assuming stuff, we don't know exactly. But of course, let me know what you think down below. Do you think I'm overrating Shen or underrating him? And of course, what you think regarding the other Kengan characters as well and the Baki characters. But that's really everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Shout out to these Patreon mad lads. Check out all the other stuff in the description. Apologies, no face cam, but that's it guys. Peace.